Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, everyone. It is Stacy over at the Skull Rock broadcast. I am joined by.
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to Skull Rock Broadcast, our Stranger Things podcast. How are you doing this week, Stacy?
I'm doing pretty good. I completely forgot that it was daylight savings time. So, yeah, let's see when I crash. It's gonna be when I try to watch the Oscars tonight. They're not even gonna be done the opening speech, and I'm gonna be asleep like an old man in my chair.
I forgot about it too. I was like, wait, what? Like, what time is it? I'm so confused.
And I normally lose an hour of sleep, but I like it staying lighter out longer. So, like, I'll get used
Mhm.
to it.
Yes.
You know, it's so funny. I was thinking, I don't know if it was the Critics' Choice Awards. This was way back in 2017, I want to say. It was when Stranger Things, the cast won. It was when David Harbour made his like really rousing speech. You know, it was so
Yeah.
inspiring. And I remember watching it being like, oh, yeah, I liked that show. And here we are today.
And here we are.
You know, besides that, everything's all good. How are you doing, my friend?
Good. Feeling a little bit better than last week. So hopefully I'm on the mend. We are excited for our episode today. We had a
Yep.
hard time deciding what to do, so we had decided to leave it up to our followers on Instagram.
You guys are the best.
But it was a close one. So it was like such an even split. Like an hour ago, it was 50-50, and Stacy and I were like, "Oh my gosh, we're just going to have to flip a coin."
Basically, we're going to do underrated duos part 2 today. And next week, we're going to focus on our man Henderson, which is going to be a
Yes.
lot of fun because I know we have a lot of fun stuff planned for that. But yeah, last episode was a complete blast. And what I like about this lineup that we have is last episode was, like you mentioned, just season 4, kind of like duos. This one is kind of all over the map, which I really like.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like you said, it's kind of makes sense for us to do this conversation now when we're coming off of the part 1 last week. And then we'll give us a little bit more time to do some research because I want to talk about Dayton also. And I need
Yes.
to do a little bit more research on just his career so that we can do that justice. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that'll be good. Just want to go ahead and dive in.
Let's light this candle, as they say.
Okay.
So our number 1 pick, Megan, is
And remember, they're not in like any
any
particular
particular
order.
order.
But the first one we're going to talk about is Mike Wheeler and Max Mayfield. So I think that they are just like the most underrated duo
Mhm.
because their energy with each other is just so interesting and so cool. I think it was never kind of like Dustin and Lucas were kind of competing for her attention when they first met her because Mike was, he was just all about Elle. So he
He's
wasn't,
pining away. Yep.
yeah, the competitiveness of Mike and Max. I feel like they have they're very similar in
And
a
I
lot of
think
ways.
that's why in season 2, when Max is introduced, I think the way Mike sees her is almost, no, we can't have another girl join the party. Our party, as he says, already has enough members. Elle is still part of this party. And like you said, they're so similar. They're not like oil and water. They're like oil and oil set on,
Yeah.
fire, because it's almost like siblings to a degree where they're just bickering and they have a chip on their shoulder for 2 very different reasons. And, maybe the audience was led to believe that, Max might be a threat to the whole, 11 Mike thing. Poor 11, she sees that scene, in season 2 when she visits the high school and she sees Max being a Zoomer, which I do love that she made up that term and it stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do like that, when she did fall off her board, there was, concern, but right away he was being just a typical, you know, elementary, middle school kid being like, no girls allowed. And you kind of have to realize, like, she is still a stranger. Lucas and Dustin are infatuated with her because not only does she, as Dustin says, she rides a skateboard, so she must totally be awesome. And she,
Exactly.
probably likes Ghostbusters and, has the highest score on Dig Dug, I believe. So, she's Mad Max. They're infatuated with her, but Mike is a little more annoyed because she's an outsider. And, God knows what the government did and the lab did to cover everything up. So not only can they not talk about it, they have this whole cover story. So he kind of shuns her a little bit. And, the few glimpses that we see, even in season 3, as they're getting older, not to jump too far ahead, I like
Yeah.
that she, is kind of advocating for Elle to be her own person. And Mike sees her almost as like Hopper as a threat that's coming between them. So I do like that, you do see glimpses of them caring about each other, obviously, especially at the end of Battle of Starcourt. But yeah, I just found like their bickering and their tension, it was kind of humorous and it worked really well.
They do have a cute little name for their pairing. Have you ever heard it?
No,
Mad Wheeler.
that's actually pretty funny.
It's like the best ship name I think of like any Stranger Things like friendship.
And it isn't until she drives the Camaro that Mike goes, incredible. And she goes, see, told you, Zoomer. And it just shows that she has like little to no knowledge besides what Lucas told her about what goes on. She has no problem jumping into this giant hole in the middle of the field and going into the upside down and fighting the demodogs to give the others a chance. So
Right.
I liked that they had like that moment. And then, not to jump too far ahead, but in season 3, it's them growing up, obviously, and Max now has a connection with Elle, her first like female friend, and she's trying to show her to be her own person. And Mike is being a little snooty that Max is kind of teaching Elle to have her own voice, and he sees Max as just another, roadblock, like Hopper's being to his relationship with his girlfriend.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel like they always have kind of something like pitting them against each other. In season 2, it being well, and a lot of times it's Elle because in season
Yeah.
2, it's really he's so tied up with Elle that he doesn't want to let her be a part of the group, even though
Yeah.
she fits in with them perfectly. Like
Hmm.
she's a video game nerd and she needs friends and they're welcoming to her except for Mike. And then in season 3, Max is yeah, like the person who is kind of showing Elle how to have fun and kind of be a girl and be
Yeah.
like just a friend in a different way than she's experienced with Mike so far because she just has such like limited life experiences in that way. So I feel like Elle and Max's friendship is like one of my favorite friendships in the
Oh,
show.
absolutely.
Also, which did we even talk about that in any of our episodes yet? Were they on our top 10 list?
I gotta be completely honest, no, they weren't, which blows my mind because the more and more I think about them becoming friends, I'm like, that's actually like one hell of a friendship because that's almost like Elle's first exposure to becoming her own
Yeah.
person. So
So we might have to do like an episode kind of just about Mike. I mean,
dedicated to that.
just about Alan Max and because I don't know how we've missed them so
I
far.
know.
So
That one crawled underneath us like a demodog, guys. Sorry.
but yeah, so in season 3, like Max is the one kind of who Mike feels is like pulling Al away from him
Yep.
and that's annoying to him. But with all that said, in season 4, I think it's an interesting thing that Max still sits with Mike and Dustin
Yes.
at
Yep.
the pep rally. Like she's there next to Mike. Like he's still her person. And we don't get to
Hmm.
see that relationship much in season 4 because then Mike goes to
Mike goes off to
California,
California.
obviously.
Yep.
But like her, even though she's kind of broken up with Lucas at the time, that's still who she kind of gravitates towards
Yep.
in this kind of like depressed, like sad time that she's having. So
Hmm.
I thought it was really interesting to see them kind of standing together at the pep rally.
And what I really liked too were like just the little glimpses at the end of Battle of Starcourt in season 3, where Billy is hunting them like the fucking Terminator.
Yeah.
And he basically is like helping after 11 gets taken. He helps Max get up. And he's, kind of almost like they're teaming up together to protect 11. And, they run out there together, unfortunately, to witness some shit go down. And you have to realize that, it was, I believe, if I'm doing my math right, it's probably like late September, early October when 11 and Will moved. So Max at the time was still dating Lucas, as far as we know. So,
Mhm.
whenever they did break up, she was still part of that group, and we don't know how their relationship progressed. But just the fact that, like, they don't know, like, how, like, a championship works and stuff, and she kind of, and
Yeah.
kind of annoyed, has to explain it to the boys and stuff who clearly have no idea. But it's really interesting to see, like, their growth from season 2 to season 4, even though they had very limited time together. I did, like, make me feel better that, like, Mike went with 11 and they were all together when they visited Max in the hospital, because it goes to show that they're more than friends, they're probably family to a degree.
Yes, yes, and that's, like, the underrated nature of their friendship, like, we don't get to see enough of it, but you can tell that they are close and they have developed, like, a pretty strong bond through everything that they've gone through, and once 11 has moved away, you can kind of read into the fact that, like, they must still be friends and they must still be hanging out if that's,
Mhm.
like, where she would go at the pep rally to sit with him. So, I love that you pointed out the moment at the end of season 3 because that would have been, the last time other than them packing up the house and everything, but that was when kind of maybe their relationship shifted a little bit when they
Yeah.
had to kind of have that big fight together, so
And you have to
yeah.
remember too, I always love when they go and find Eddie in that boat house. They're like, "This is Max, the one who never wants to play D&D." So you know that they've probably asked her many, many times, and she's like, "Nah,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good." So yeah, I definitely like that, and it's going to be interesting. We don't know really what we're up in the air with Max right now, but you know, I hope they do have some screen time or some moments together because it's so interesting to see them mature in a way. And like I said, it was just seeing them almost grow together as first butting heads to actually having a mutual respect for each other and being friends.
Yeah, and just speaking of, like, Max and Dustin are a cool kind of duo in season 4 also because, like, they didn't start out, like, butting heads as much as Mike and Max did.
Mm.
Like, Dustin has always thought that Max was cool, but, like, they were the only ones left kind of in season
Yep.
4, and Lucas, but then Lucas ended up at the beginning of the season with the
Took a little time
basketball
for him to
people, so
catch
it was
up.
like
Yeah.
yeah, when Max had, like, her suspicions about everything that happened with
Who did she go to
Eddie,
first?
she goes to Dustin
Yep.
because he's the only one kind of left, but also you can tell that they are close, like,
Hmm.
they've stayed close through all of this, so I think Max's friendship with everybody in the original party is just very, like, cool to see because they've all developed such a strong friendship with her, and they've all been there for her through everything that
Hmm.
she's gone through. So, yeah, love Max.
Love them.
I love Mike. I don't hate Mike. I know a lot of people hate Mike, and I just think he's, like, definitely a misunderstood character. Like,
He's
he's
definitely complex.
annoying as shit
Oh, yeah.
sometimes, but like, I can kind of figure out where he's coming from, and I think there's a lot of nuance to his character, and I think Finn is amazing and plays him
Oh,
so
yeah.
well. So, I think that the connection between Mike and Max is definitely an interesting one to kind of, like, think deeper about because they don't get a lot of screen time, and you kind of have to read into some of the scenes that they
Hmm.
have together, but if you do, I think there's some cool dynamics there, so
Definitely makes you wonder, though, how would things have gone down if the Wrinkle Rama scene happened and Max was there? She would have kicked into his ass.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'm glad that Elle got to kind of stand up for
She
herself
got her
too.
moment, she might have, gotten arrested, but she got her moment, people.
We have a fun one to talk about next. What
We
is our
do.
next duo?
Our next one, oh, it just makes our hearts grow. Dustin and Nancy.
So, so sweet. So we are going to do our deep dive on Dustin next week, but it's
Yeah.
kind of fun because, I mean, obviously we've already brought him up. We have him in a couple of these duos that we're going
Hmm.
to talk about today. So he just has such cool, like, relationships with all of the characters on the show. Like, obviously, we love him, his friendship with Steve. That's like our top, like,
Oh yeah.
duo in the show. We love his friendship with Eddie, but we love his friendship with all of the party members, but it's definitely underrated, his friendship with Nancy.
Yeah.
Tell everyone the first time that they interact in the show.
Which is probably the scene I'll never forget when I first watched it. My sister like poked her head in for a second and was like, "Oh, this is adorable." She didn't even know what I was watching. But it's when he jogs upstairs after Karen tells them, it's 15 after, you need to pack it up. It's a school night. And he has the whole pizza box with him. And she's on the phone with Barb. And he literally is like, "Nancy, you want the last slice? Sausage and pepperoni." And it just like that smile he gives, like he was such a baby back then. And she literally just slams the door in his face, annoyed. And I love that he comes downstairs. He's like, "Your sister has a stick up her butt," and like right away, Mike is like, "She always has," typical sibling stuff. And he's like, "No, she used to be cool. Remember when she dressed up as an elf for one of our campaigns?" And even though it was
Yeah.
years ago, I just always find it funny too, because Lucas is like, "Oh, she started acting that way ever since she started dating that douchebag, Steve Harrington." Oh, Dustin, if only you knew. But I do love that like, he's probably, ever since he's moved here, he got close with the Wheeler family. And he, probably has a little, harmless childhood crush on Nancy, the pretty older sister. But his smile trying to offer the pizza. Pizza is a different kind of love language, guys. I'm telling you.
Yes, exactly, and just the fact that he thought of her and was like, "Let me go,
Yeah.
like, up and see if Nancy wants some pizza." I think that was so sweet. I have a similar age difference with, like, my younger brother, so if, like,
Yes.
one of
Yep.
my, like, little brother's friends came and offered me some pizza, I feel like at Nancy's age, I also probably would have reacted the same way, but it is touching, like, for
Yeah.
them to have thought of me.
Yeah, that's a I mean, pizza, come on, man. But I do love that. And, you do see them like kind of work together, when they're making the salt bath for Elle. And they don't really have much dialogue together, but they are around each other. But I do think, and definitely I want to pick your brain about this, but their big highlight because season 2, Nancy's off trying to, take down Hawkins' lab,
Yeah.
and Dustin's too busy with his stuff going on with the party and Dart, but they do share this wonderful moment in season 2. Can we talk about
Yes.
that?
Yep. So at the end of season 2, we have Steve dropping Dustin off at the dance. So we have the snowball happening. And
Adorable.
Nancy is inside, I guess, volunteering at the
Mm.
dance, is it, what it seems like she's doing. And Dustin doesn't have anyone to dance with. So
Oh,
I think a girl asks Will to dance. And then Lucas is dancing with Max, and then Elle finally shows up and is dancing with Mike. So Dustin's
Dustin
kind of
asks a
like,
girl named Stacy,
yeah,
and she shoots him down. I'm like, "You bitch, Stacy. You
he
bitch."
shoots his shot and he's so confident with his hair that
I
Steve helped
know.
him with, and he's turned down, and it's just the
Deflated.
saddest thing that you'll ever
Mhm.
see in your life. And Nancy saves the day.
Yep.
So Nancy comes and dances with Dustin. So, it's the
Their
sweetest
song
thing.
will forever be Time After Time. Like, as soon as I hear that song, I think of them, and I love that she kinda, like, gives him almost, like, big sister advice, being like, "Listen, girls this age are stupid. They'll come around," almost kind of, like, comparing herself with Jonathan, because probably at that age, she would have ignored Jonathan at that age, and she's just kinda like, "Don't worry, in a couple of years, they'll come around," and I love that she goes, out of all my brother's friends, you're my favorite," and he lights up like a Christmas tree, and it's so sweet.
Yeah, it's absolutely adorable, for sure. So,
He needed that. He definitely needed that. But season 3, unfortunately, he is stuck underground basically the whole season. So we get little glimpses at the end at the Battle of Starport, but they don't have a lot of moments together. But season 4, what I liked about it was showing that they were maturing, is that they're part of the team trying to figure out, okay, what is this Vecna thing? Trying to solve the murders. And I do like, it's just such an underrated scene, but I want to say it's the episode after Dear Billy. And it's when they find Max upstairs coloring with Holly. And I love that he's like talking about Freddy Krueger. And Nancy's like, Dustin. And he's like, oh, sorry. Nope, it's fake. And they kind of piece together what the house is from. And that's also when Dustin helps himself in front of Ted Wheeler to the most awesome breakfast ever. But I like that they're like almost part of like the Scooby-Doo gang. Like they're all teamed up together and they're helping each other. And Dustin definitely is brains. Like I liked that in the moment of panic when Max was levitating in the previous episode, he knew enough to run for the radio and call for help for the girls. So I will die on this hill that Steve saved her life. And then people can say, well, actually, it would be Steve, Robin, who thought of the music thing, and then Dustin. And
Yeah.
just like, it's such a tender moment, that they put their heads together using their strengths. Nancy's really good at investigating, and Dustin's really good at using his brain. And they actually like figure some shit out pretty quickly,
Yeah, yeah, and they have, like, a mutual respect and a mutual kind of, like, teamwork when they're kind of
hmm
figuring all of that stuff out. Like, you can tell they have an easy dynamic with each other, they've known each other for so long,
Yeah.
so, yeah, it works. So and it's realistic, it's not like "Oh, they figured that out so fast, that's not realistic." No, like, Dustin is super smart, Nancy is super smart,
Super
like
smart. Yep.
yeah, yeah, obviously, they're gonna be like a power team, like,
hmm
figuring this stuff out. They're definitely, like well, and like you said, we've got, like, the little contributions that everybody brings to the table,
Yeah.
but they are definitely kind of the 2 smartest, I think, of the
Oh yeah.
team.
I do like to when the teens are about to board the boat and Dustin wants to go on with his compass and she just like a no nonsense older sister basically because she's like a surrogate older sister to him. She just puts out her hand right away is like almost like don't give me any lip. Simple as that. And he whines a little bit, but
Yeah.
if you notice he doesn't really push the issue, probably because he knows not to with Nancy. So really,
Yeah,
really great
he'll
pairing.
argue with Steve, but he
All
knows
day
that
long.
he can't argue with Nancy.
Moving on to our third one. Who do we got, Megan?
So, I laughed a little bit when I was, like, saying that these were all platonic because I have seen people kind of
Ship
ship
these two?
these
Yep.
2. But Murray and a very underrated character, Alexei. Poor sweet Alexei.
Pour your cherry Slurpee out for him because man, oh man, what a great, great character. He was only with us for one season. His death was heartbreaking, but I did like right off the bat, like when they go to Murray's place and they're translating, obviously they're speaking in Russian, and they kind of like right away like laugh at each other, because he's like, get the shotgun out of my face, you pig, and stuff. And he's like, well, really, I'm the one holding the gun. So it's this playful little like rapport back and forth. But I do like how quickly, like literally Murray's just sitting back watching him bust Hopper's balls with the like cherry Slurpee and this and that. But I think the moment that I was like, these two are awesome is when Murray has to pull a Maury and basically call Joyce and Hopper out on their bullshit when they're driving to Indiana. And right away, Alexi's like, they haven't had sex yet. And they just start laughing. It's so good. Oh,
It's like an epic moment for sure, like,
hmm
so funny. But it's just heartbreaking. The end of their
oh,
scene, the end of, like, season 3 when they're at the fair, just the joy on both of their faces of, like, Alexi just being at the fair and having this quintessential American experience that he was
hmm
so kind of excited about, and, ugh, I just can't even talk about it. It's so sad.
It really is, man. I mean, I gotta tell you, I don't think I could eat a corn dog the same way again, because it's
No.
just that freaking Russian. Like, I'm sorry, he caused so many issues, but when he just calls him a traitor and just the look of shock. And just, you can tell Murray's really like blaming himself and he's torn up. And I do love when later on they're taking the elevator down. He's talking about his plans. He's like, may he rest in peace. It's just, it's so subtle, but it's just like, what could have been. They seemed like they were getting along so well, and Murray wanted to expose him to, like you said, a little bit of American culture. And, if it hadn't been for either of them, guess what? That key, as they called it, the machine, would not have gotten destroyed.
Right, right. And Alexei is such a interesting character in and of himself because
Mm.
he's just kind of like a scientist. Like he's
Yeah.
in it for the science of everything. Like
Hmm.
I don't know that he really was in it for the weapon situation. Like
Yeah.
so he didn't feel too bad like telling them what they wanted to know. It did scare him because he knew that it wouldn't be
What
okay
was
with,
at
like, the
stake?
people.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, he kind of knew the risk, I think, and
Hmm.
still decided to help them, and yeah.
It was just so interesting to see too, like his exposure. Like, probably that was the first time ever he had been in a convenience store, let alone a 7-Eleven. And I love that he went straight to the Slurpees. And everyone will always think of Cherry Slurpees when they think of him. And
Yes.
I just, like I said, I really, really love Murray's just like laughing when right away Hopper comes back with Alexi's order. And he's like, the Burger King and the 7-Eleven are not even near each other. And Murray's just got like this shit eating grin. He's like, never said they were. And just him being like, doing the translation, being like, he says, no cherry, no deal, like killed me, absolutely killed me. But Alexi has almost like this childish glee about him. But if you think about it, he's such a good person. Like when Hopper is trying to get Joyce to crank the engine, he's trying to warn them because he knows it's going to blow up. And Hopper even says it like he had a chance to run many times. The only time he really sprinted ahead of them was when he saw the 7-Eleven. And even though it's not involving Murray, I do love when they board the Todd father. And Hopper's like, oh, he's the most dangerous criminal in the world. He's a child murderer. Like, I think Joyce says he's like, God, God, what is it that she says that he is?
A
Forges. Oh,
forger?
he's a
Yeah.
forger. And he goes, child murderer. And she goes, child murderer, what? It's just so funny because he looks like a puppy dog slurping on his little like slushy, but I like that he gives good enough advice, being like, do you want to blow the car? Do you want to just, take the keys away from the truck, or do you want to blow it up so it doesn't drive anymore? So he gives them the tools that they need, and Murray's able to translate. Thank God they had Murray to figure this out on how to succeed with their mission.
Yeah, and they just, like you said, have such a funny dynamic with each other, and the conversations that they have in the subtitles, at least,
Yeah.
are so hilarious and bring that comedy to the moment that we always appreciate.
Lexi will be raising our Slurpees in honor of you very soon. All right. So, our last one, which I'm actually really, really excited to talk about, is one of our OGs.
Yes,
And that is,
that is Mike, who we've talked about,
Mhm.
and Dustin, who we've talked about.
who we've talked about, one of the OG core members of the party.
I think the kind of moment that makes this duo underrated for us is well, for me, their most kind of iconic moment in season 1 is the conversation that they're having while they're riding the bikes,
Hmm.
talking about sort of Lucas and Will. So Will's missing and Lucas is mad at them, and so they're the two that are kind of together, and Dustin is kind of saying like, "I know they're your best friends. I joined late." But Mike is assuring him like, "No, you're my best friend too. Like, you can have more than one best friend, right?"
Yeah.
So, like, I loved that moment between them and just kind of that meaning of friendship. Like, you can't it's not just like you can have one best friend sort of thing.
And for two boys that are like, I'm going to guess, like 12 maybe, that's kind of both on both ends, wisdom beyond their years. Like, you can have more than one best friend. And also, Dustin is like, no, I totally get it. Lucas was here since the beginning and he wasn't hurt about it at all. But Dustin's the voice of reason trying to make them shake on it because he's like, this party is going to fall apart if we don't, actually work together as a team. And I like that he's that voice of reason and kind of brings that like, I don't know, like innocence, to the party. And he truly does bring a lot of heart to it. And, you can just tell how upset he is for Mike, especially after they find supposedly Will's body. The first thing he does is, Mike, where are you going? Because he's so concerned about his friends.
Yeah, exactly. They just definitely have kind of a sensitivity about them and just like you said, they're wise beyond their years and they are there for each other when they need each other and they'll call each other on their bullshit. Like
hmm
they're not afraid to do that. So
Yeah, basically. And like you can tell he feels a little like in season two, Dustin feels maybe a little isolated because of what's going on. And he's got Dart. But right away, he, shows the party, the kids, Dart and stuff. And I really do like that, it's almost like a shock that he's with Steve after they like rescue them all from the lab after the demodogs go down. And I like that, like, Dustin is trying to still compare it all to D&D, and he's
mhm.
being like even with the terminology with like demo dog, he's just nailing this home, and Mike is just like shaking his head like, "What the hell?" But I love that Dustin is happy for Mike when Elle comes back, because now it's almost
Yeah.
like they're a team again. And, poor Dustin, like he realizes that Max seems to be getting a little closer to Lucas. And, you can tell, at that age, he's a little heartbroken about it. So you can definitely tell he's somebody that always puts his friends first. And they work as a team, like even to getting Steve off his ass and like into the Camaro and to the tunnels, they work as a team, even dealing with the demodogs, which is really cool because, like we said, if they didn't work together, much like their campaigns, everything would have gone to shit, as Dustin so clearly states in season one.
And I think similarly in season 3, Dustin is a little isolated from the rest of the party because he's kind of with the Scoops troop and he originally goes to the mall to see Steve because they have kind of abandoned him and Steve is kind of like mad at
I
them
love
for
that.
him,
So
which we
protective.
love. Yeah. And they do come back together at the end and like they're kind of hanging out again when they're packing up and everything. And then still in season 4, we've talked about kind of Mike and Dustin are separated.
hmm
But at the beginning, they are together. So at
They
the
are
beginning,
together.
they are hanging out and they're kind of like, trying to talk to Eddie about D&D. So they do have that still kind of that close relationship, but we just don't get to see it because Mike leaves so quickly. So I'm hoping in season 5, just like we talked about with, Max and Mike, Dustin and Nancy. I hope that we get kind of just like some culmination to like tie everything together and bring back these cool like dynamics between some of these characters to kind of
That's
wrap
what the
things up.
Duffer Brothers mentioned, right? They said it's going to kind of go back to season one, almost pairings or groups. So I
Yeah.
think we will see maybe the boys all together again. And we
Yeah.
might see more of Dustin and Mike together because, much like Max and Mike's relationship, maturing, what I like is in the end of season 3, right away they're like, we could have really used you down there. Well, we could have used you up here. And it's almost like they apologize for not being there because Mike was, being a typical teenage boy who's wrapped up with his girlfriend. And you can tell that really hurt Dustin, because he probably really wanted Mike to hear Susie's voice and wanted to talk about it and was excited. So you could tell he was definitely hurt about that. And then I do love, even though it's not much time in season 4, I do love seeing them actually play D&D and them, like you said, with Eddie, they're kind of nervous and stuff, but I really love seeing them in their element playing together about something they're so passionate about and just how they wear their Hellfire shirts so proudly. And like somebody even pointed out, they're like, look, yeah, it was the style at the time, but it almost looks like both of them are growing their hair out a little bit to look like Eddie, their hero. So it's really cute, even though they only have a few scenes together. And yeah, they're a little on the wrong with the whole Lucas thing. But, I like how Dustin kind of wears his, his social, statue as like, a badge of pride. He's like, we are freaks. And I like that, even though they weren't there for Lucas at his game, we do get to see them play with the older kids at the high school and with Erica. And that is such an iconic shot of the three of them walking down to Tammy Thompson's beautifully sung, you know, Star Spangled Banner. So beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's so fun to see kind of like the group dynamic of the party, but then all of the different like individual dynamics of the different members of the party as like duos too.
Because just think of how far they came. Like one of my favorite shots in the whole show is season one after 11, breaks the bully's arm at the quarry. And it's Mike, 11, and Dustin that just hug each other. And it's just
Yeah.
so sweet. And it reminds you of, adolescence when you're at that innocent age. And we get to see them slowly begin to discover girls and get older and mature and find different interests. So it's still nice to see them have the D&D thing and the fact that the first thing Dustin thinks of when Max comes, he goes, have you tried Mike? And then he goes, oh shit, no, he's in California. And they keep trying to actually call him because right away Dustin's first thought is, 11, Will, Mike. So definitely in him, bringing them to the hospital to see him being like, oh, you guys don't know about what happened with Max. It's
Yeah.
definitely going to be interesting to see how they pair up and how they work together in this final season.
Yeah, and I think I mean, obviously, we talk about duos all the time on our podcast because I think one of my absolute favorite things about the show is just the way it portrays friendships, like,
Mhm.
and the evolution of friendships over time, like you've said, like, from season 1 all the way through to the end of season 4, these guys have stayed so close and their friendship has evolved in different ways, but
Mhm.
it's still such a strong bond that they have, and that's really cool to see, and I think the show portrays it really well.
And can we just say, add in, when they are at the pep rally, I do love that they're almost like comparing girlfriends, which I think is hilarious. Him being like, you do realize Al saved the world like 3 times. He's like, you still have a C in Spanish. Like, that's such a young, like, boy thing to do. It just kills me. Just their rapport that they have with each other. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, it's perfect. It's great. So, all right. Well, that was such a fun conversation
Had a
about
blast.
these duos. I love all of them so much, and like I said, I love just how the actors kind of are able to play off of each other, and it's
Mhm.
just cool to know, like, Finn and Gaten are friends just like Dustin and or Mike and Dustin are. So, it's we love this show so much and just everything that it's kind of brought to the world.
I do love that while we're discussing it, you and I go, wait a second, have we discussed Elle and Max? And it just
I
dawned on
know.
us,
How did we miss that? We're
we're
gonna
gonna
have
have
to
a
make up
lot to
for
say
that.
about them. Yeah, don't you
Yeah.
worry, guys. We got stuff planned. But no, total riot, total blast. And like I said, it just makes us look forward to season 5 even more.
All right. So let's talk about filming updates. So we've kind of noticed a little bit of a pattern. Somebody else
Mm-hmm.
actually pointed this out to me. So it seems like the Duffer Brothers have been doing every other week updates. So
Ooh,
we did not get an update from them this past week, just a couple days before recording. So if this pattern continues, we should get an update from them this coming Friday, which is the day this episode comes out. So
nice.
we hope to see some more from them soon, but Millie was doing some press for her new movie Damsel, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously they always ask her about Stranger Things. So she did have some interesting things to say in a recent interview. So she said that she does know how her characters kind of ending is going to happen. She does know what's going to happen to 11 based on something that she saw on a whiteboard in the writer's room. So
maybe it's the same whiteboard that the Duffer Brothers posted. I think it was the summer of 22, where
Yeah.
they were like, we're going to take a month off, then we're going to get to writing. At first, it was a blank slate. And then remember, they blurred it all. God knows, maybe it's the same whiteboard. But what? So she saw her ending?
Yeah, she says that she saw her ending, but that she hasn't read the script yet. So I don't know
Okay.
if the actual script is completely finished for the last couple of episodes. But she said that they are going to be filming for 9 more months, which basically means the rest of the year. So it's March now when we're recording. 9 more months would be through the end of the year to December.
What would be your guess, just your personal guess, of when do you think season 5 will come out? Because they have to do post production. When do you think like they might release it?
So I also was discussing this theory with some other people recently, and they were thinking maybe Stranger Things Day in
Could you
2025.
imagine? I would die. I would literally die. That would be perfect because let's see if my memory is serving me correctly. Season 1 was July of 2016. Season 2 was October of 2017. That's the fastest a season's ever come out. Season 3
Yeah.
was July of 2019. And then due to COVID, season 4 was May of 2022. So obviously with the strike and everything, things have been set back a bit. But that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I liked it, but then also I think a lot of people think they're gonna split it again and do a part
Oh,
1 and a part 2, which I guess I would be okay with that. It would keep the hype going for
yeah.
longer, but then we might not, if it's not until Stranger Things Day of 2025, we might
Dear
not
God.
get part 2 until 2026.
I'm gonna be collecting
So
Social Security, yeah.
yeah, maybe Stranger Things Day, maybe the summer again. If I don't think that they would be ready by the summer of 2025,
Mhm.
because if they're filming until the end of this year, that would be fast. So I think probably November Stranger Things Day is a good bet to get like
Yeah,
the first, at least the first part of season 5. So we'll see.
because it's like they've done almost every season, like, of the year to release it at this point. So maybe, like you said, they could split it, could still be winter. We have no idea yet. But you pointed out something pretty cool that something's actually coming up in October.
Yes. So we will
Yep.
be in Atlanta in October. So we were thinking that filming was going to be over by then. But
Hmm.
now with this news, that means filming will still be happening in October when we are there. So we are really hoping that that means that the convention that we'll be attending will have as many Stranger Things characters, actors as possible.
Hmm.
The only person who is confirmed at the convention right now is Millie, which is super
Yeah,
exciting because we're going to be super excited to see her. But we want to meet as much of the cast as we absolutely
absolutely.
can. So if they're still filming at the end of this year, like they're all going to be in Atlanta anyway. So hopefully they'll be at this convention.
Which is the perfect, almost like storm if you think about it, because guys, I cannot stress enough. If you live in Atlanta or you're visiting Atlanta, if they're doing filming, respect it like anything else. If it's private property, do not sneak on set. Like you're going to ruin it for everybody else. Be respectful. They're doing their job, just down to security till Netflix. You guys got to actually follow the rules. So what we like about this is there's going to be a convention and, like Megan said, it would make sense if they're filming, they're already in Atlanta, so maybe they will go, which will be fantastic. And that'd be such an awesome opportunity to be able to, like we said, meet as many as we could the safe and appropriate way, because you always want to respect that they are doing their job and they are filming. And guys, like I said, it's going to be worth the wait. Just, hang in there. It's going to be worth the wait. Let them do their job. Let the production do their job, because look at how long we waited with season 4 and it was a complete masterpiece.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. And I love that, like, we're just putting things out there on this podcast. Like, at the one of our first 2 episodes, we were like, "Oh, yeah, we really hope they're gonna do just Stranger Things conventions," and a few weeks later, a Stranger Things convention
Guys, we're
popped up
witches.
that so just let us know what else you would like us to manifest through this podcast.
We're working on it. We'll get the crystals ready and light the candles, but very excited about that. And that's something with this trip coming up, we're going to keep you guys updated about, obviously, as the convention keeps updating us.
Let's get into merch. I know you have some things that you are excited to talk about for merch this week.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. So, one shop I wanted to actually shout out, it's a wonderful, wonderful account, and they are just so awesome. And earlier, I was wearing actually my Steady sweatshirt from them. It's called TSM Healer. I believe I'm saying that right. And they made such cool shirts. I own the sweatshirt, and it's just so cute because it's black and white photos of Joe Keery and Joseph Quinn, and it says established 1986. But they also make lots of cool Stranger Things merch. Really, really cool stuff. And they are just the nicest people ever. I have bought from them before. Super comfy, great customer service, and they are complete and utter sweethearts. They sent me like Stranger Thing Taylor Swift themed friendship bracelets, which I definitely have to rock because the kids at school will lose their minds. But speaking of Taylor Swift, I actually ordered myself, because I have no self-control, ordered myself a Joe Keery Errors tour shirt, because there might as well be one. And it's in the same design as Taylor Swift's Era Tours, shirt and merch. And that's from All Time Company, and they're on Etsy, All Time Co. Company. And they just have amazing, amazing stuff. But the news that I was probably the most excited about was, are you ready?
I'm
We are
ready.
going to have, drum roll, boom, 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 boom. We are going to be having soon, and I know you're just as excited as me, Stranger Things themed Squishmallows.
Squishmallows.
I'm late to the party with Squishmallows, guys. In fact, a friend of mine bought me this custom Eddie on Etsy. I'll have to find out the name of that shop. And it's adorable. And it's tiny. But I literally was like, I'm going to throw it on my pillows and just sleep with Squishmallows. Like, now I get the appeal of it. At first, I was like, they're stuffed animals. They are so goddamn soft.
They're
And
so squishy.
they're so squishy and amazing. And I'm like, these are amazing. And everyone's like, well, what do you think is going to make it as a squishmallow? And I'm like, of course, me and Megan are hoping that there's going to be an Eddie and Steve. But like, I think a Demogorgon would be adorable. Maybe
Dart.
even a dart. Oh my God, a dart would be
Mhm.
amazing. I feel like a Demobat would be terrifying because
Yeah,
just
no, it'd be really scary.
we've seen the pop of that. Okay. Well,
But a
moving on.
Demogorgon would be great. Maybe Vecna?
Demogorgon, Vecna would be cute. I've seen him in
Yeah.
stuffed animal form. Low key terrifying, but really cool. But like if they had a Robin, or even an 11, I just think the possibilities are endless. And I'm going to be that person that, as they say in Tiger King, I'm never going to financially recover from this. So that's going to be me. But another cool announcement was Mondo, Mondo was a company that basically got bought out by Funko Pops, but they would do Mondo posters, Mondo vinyls, and there was a new vinyl I think that's coming out, and I don't think it's for the Shadow Play. I'm not too sure yet, but it teased Stranger Things artwork, and the caption is amazing. Just go and check it out on the Mondo page. I won't ruin it for anybody. But it looks like it's either going to be an additional soundtrack, maybe it's just an instrumental. I know they've already released vinyl based off the Shadow Play, so I'm pretty interested to see because I have all of the soundtracks so far on vinyl. I've really slowed down on my vinyl collecting, and funny enough, the only vinyls I've bought in the last probably 3 years was Joe Keery's band and then Stranger Things because the instrumental music when it hits, it hits. But I actually got a new update today by our good friend Rachel. She said, "Are you aware of this?" And she sent me a picture from the Walmart website. Now, I don't know if this is available everywhere, but it's a roller skate that's Stranger Things themed. And it looks like a regular white roller skate, but there's blood splatter on the wheels.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I literally I said, somebody's going to bitch about this being too violent because as teachers, that's where our head goes. But I went,
Yeah.
I low key kind of love it. But I was like, I don't skate. Like, guys, if you ever want to see what looks like an episode of Jackass, put Stacy on wheels. But I was like, what a cool little detail. Like, look at you guys go, Walmart. Like, okay.
Are
So
they
I'm
like full
interested.
size?
They're full size adult skates. Yeah. It comes in different
Wow.
sizes, but it's made for adults. Like, because could you imagine a kid being like, "This is fake blood?" That'd be me as a kid.
Yeah,
But
no, no, no.
I definitely want to look at it. The price is a little up there, but rightfully so. It's roller skates. But I know that Netflix.com has released Hellfire roller skates before as well, which, even if they were just to be displayed, pretty badass, but it's such a subtle, like, detail that Rachel actually had to circle it. She knows me too well. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, there is blood on the wheels and on the side of it. So I found that pretty cool. And then I had no self-control, Megan. I'm so sorry. I wasn't able to drink it on air with you, but I'm slowly making my way through the secret menu. And this one was a really simple one today. I had the Vecna drink that Jamie Camel Bauer, and it became like a meme of him sipping during getting suited up as Vecna. And even though I'm a Dunks gal, this was pretty good. It's a venti salted caramel cream cold brew with extra foam, otherwise known as the Vecna. So you just order it that way. And I followed your advice and I got the damn app. And I got to tell you, there was no anxiety and I didn't feel like an asshole. So, woohoo!
Life changer. That's awesome.
Life changer. Thank you so much for that.
That one sounds delicious, actually.
The
I
foam
don't
is
usually
really
do
good.
cold brew, and I've never done the foam, so it would be fun to try it for
I
sure.
can see why Jamie probably liked it, but I got to be honest, after hearing his story about what he had to go through to like pee, I don't know about you, but if I have coffee, I'm running to the bathroom to pee. So I'd be like, I'm going to ration this, but definitely stay tuned next week, guys. I actually heard of a new one called the Chrissy Crumble. So stay tuned.
Okay, yeah. Well, this is not really merch related, but I just realized that we forgot to talk about something really important
Oh,
because
okay.
you mentioned the first Shadow, the play. We have some big news about the
Oh my
play.
God, you're right. Megan, take it away.
So, speaking of manifesting, I mean, it's not us. Like, this was going to happen no matter what. But we have been talking about how excited we are to see the first Shadow and hoping that they will bring it to Broadway
Hmm.
in New York. And that transfer is officially confirmed. It is coming to Broadway. We're going to be there as soon as it opens,
Oh, hell yeah. I've never been to
seeing
Broadway.
that
Have you?
play. I've seen Mamma Mia.
Oh, that's cool.
The
Okay.
ABBA musical. Yeah. Yeah, it was super fun. And I've seen, like, other musicals and plays
Hmm.
and stuff just, like, in Baltimore, not in New York City. So, I have been to Broadway, but just once. So, I'm super
This should be
excited.
amazing seeing in the States. Like, I just think of
Yes.
the epic scale it's gonna be on. Like, this is absolutely incredible, and I've never been to Broadway either. I usually just drive through New York, but as soon as you sent it to me, I, like, had to do a double take because you guys heard me, I think it was last episode or the episode before that, I was like, either we need to win the lottery or, it's streaming or, Stacy gets a passport. So, wow, I like this, option much better.
Yeah, this is awesome. So, they're gonna start casting, I think, soon because I don't think that a lot of the cast from London will necessarily be in the show here
Mhm.
because it's not gonna stop playing in London, like, to
Exactly,
come
yeah.
here. So they have to kind of get a new cast, crew, start development, and then rehearsals, so it's gonna be a long process, but I am hoping maybe by the fall or something like
Mm.
that, we'll have some updates. So, super exciting, and we're excited to see it and get that additional backstory so that we can keep making our theories and just nerding out about this show.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that's a good way to wrap up our episode today. This was super fun. Thank you if you voted. If you voted for the Dustin Henderson episode, stay tuned for next week and just keep listening. If you have not already, find us on social media, pretty
Mhm.
much everywhere. Skull Rock Broadcast. Let us know what you think of the show. Yeah.
Stay strange.
Over and out.
Over and out.
Eddie, I'm not sure I love the idea of you driving.
Oh, I'm starting supper. Harrington's daughter. Don't you, big boy?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We're back. We are ready for some steadiness, as Stacy just asked me.
Always.
Always ready for some steady. Oh, that rhymes.
Oh, look at that. Man, magicians today.
Oh, that daylight savings time.
Yeah, it's hitting a little hard today, but it's fine. It's making magic.
Yes.
So we have to discuss stories and stuff that we've been reading.
So, Stacy, what have you been reading? What have you been
Jesus.
reading?
I'm telling you, this is daylight savings time. I'm not doing well. I'm so sorry. Okay, keeping it together for steady. Let's get our steady on. Boom. We're going to put that on a t-shirt. All right, keep that in. All right, so I decided
Dead.
it was at this moment Megan was like, shit, I'm stuck with her. All right. So I decided to go back on the old archive because I've been house sitting and I have nothing better to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to look through my history. And I was like, oh, I forgot about this author. And their name is
Mm.
Rosemary Sage. I don't know if you've ever read anything from them.
No, I don't think
They-
so.
They've done probably about 9 to 10, I want to say, steady fix. And mostly they're one shots. But my favorite had to be one called Jaybird. And it's just basically about Steve and Eddie. They decide to go camping because Steve thinks it will be super romantic. And Eddie is just in pure hell because he's like, I'm not outdoorsy whatsoever. This sucks. But it shows what they get up to that night at the tent. And when it's right, baby. And this person knows how to write their smut and knows how to write our boys. So I was like, well, that's amazing. And then Brandy, she sent on Tumblr, it's like this Eddie reader fic. And even though I read more steady, I have to say this one is called His Hands, where Eddie Munson plays a hairdresser. And I've always associated Steve as the hairdresser because the hair aspect, but damn, hot as shit. Like it's amazing and just really filthy. If you're looking for just straight smut, head on over to Tumblr. It's by Fairy Soup, so it's called His Hands. But I luckily was able to visit our favorite author, Morning Berries, and I caught up on her newest story, which is All the Things We Can't Confess. Which have you read that yet?
I have not started that yet. No, so I'm excited to start it. How
I
many
feel like
chapters
you're-
are we at now?
So far, it's just 2, but she updated, I want to say a few days ago, so I got very excited.
Okay.
It basically is showing after the events of season 4, Eddie is kind of in limbo right now with his sexuality. Like he's not too sure. And he's like, well, maybe I should ask Robin out because he doesn't know that Robin's gay yet. And he's like, but I don't she's cute, but am I really attracted to her? And he's kind of going through this inner monologue, having no idea what to do. But he's a little hurt because he just finds out that Steve is throwing a party. And something happened over the summer, after the whole Vecna thing that went down, they were getting really close. And there's a scene where basically he's in Steve's bedroom and he sees a lot of lube. And Eddie kind of doesn't really know how to address it. And he kind of goes like an idiot. All I said was, ugh, gross, at something Steve said. And after that, Steve started acting really cold and kind of almost iced him out. So he finds out he has this house party and Robin's like, you can come with me. And he's like, wow, I wasn't even invited. And you can clearly tell that Steve's uncomfortable. And I'm not going to spoil it, but something happens. Eddie walks in on something and he's like, my mind is blown. My world is turned upside down, as they would say. And yep, thank you. You're welcome. And I said, thank you. You're welcome. Bless you. Happy holidays. Keep that in. But literally, he can't believe what he witnessed. And it ends on such a cliffhanger. But the second chapter is just as good because it's the aftermath a few weeks later. And Eddie's like, I'm falling
Mhm.
into my old behavior. Like, I'm icing people out myself. I'm kind of running away from the problem. And he already finds out that, like, Robin is gay. And, she's like, I'm really flattered. Like, do you like me? And there's this great line that when he, like, kind of like botches kind of asking her out, she has to tell him, like, no, I have a type, and he's like, oh, what, a jock? And she goes, no, more like Madonna. And he's like, but then she goes, wow, so you're straight? And he's kind of like, what I am. And she goes, and I love this. She goes, but you rented Rambo and you paused it at like an hour and 23 minutes, falling back, as we know, to that reference. And it's pretty interesting because I think Robin knows a lot more than what's going on. So she's kind of playing puppet master. But
Mhm.
in typical Morningberry sense, she's writing it so goddamn well. And it's the whole, like, slow build of it all, but it's so delicious. And I think you're going to
Yeah.
really, really
I'm
love this
I'm
new
gonna love
story.
it just from what you were just saying. I am absolutely sold. Like, I'm gonna be
Oh, yeah.
obsessed with this story.
And you'll be super proud. I caught up on Hate the Way It Feels So Good. Oh
Mhm.
my Lanta.
Right? I told you.
Like, oh my God, that whole scene. Whoo! And then I love, like, the panic the next morning and stuff. Fantastic, as usual, just complete art. I was like, I'm getting spoiled here, like, reading just so much of their work. It's so, so well written. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, I I'm gonna start with I have not made the cookies yet, but I did go to the grocery store yesterday and buy the ingredients to make.
You are my hero. You have
So,
no
this
idea.
I bought the ingredients to make these cookies, which, if you remember, it is the Great Unironic Fic, the Valentine experience. So,
Woo!
Steve and Eddie bake cookies as part of Eddie's whole date that he's planned,
Mhm.
and it's Mrs. Henderson's recipe.
Yes. Yep.
So, it's Steve. I think Steve knows the recipe, right? And is showing
Yep.
Eddie how to bake the cookies? Yes. So it's Mrs. Henderson's recipe. So I will keep you posted on the cookies
Oh
because
my God.
one of the steps that you're supposed to do is let the dough sit for 24 hours in the fridge. So they skip that step. I don't know if I'm going to skip that step or not.
Clearly.
But I also bought ingredients to make oatmeal raisin cookies. Do you know what that reference is?
Fargo. Oh my
Yes.
God. Which I'm not even gonna lie, that's my favorite kind of cookie. So when
I
his
love it.
character
Yeah.
says that, I want, it's meant to be.
Yes. So
I
I'm gonna
love
make
that.
Steve and Eddie's chocolate chip cookies and Gator's oatmeal raisin cookies.
That is amazing. You are my hero. Clearly, I'm a foodie, like when it comes to food themed stuff. That's why I know I would have spent a gazillion dollars at the Stranger Things experience because I would have been like,
Yeah.
Circle Boy Pizza, sign me up. Scoops Ahoy Ice Cream, sign me up. So
We'll have to see
literally, I
how
get
it
that.
goes. Yeah, we'll have to see how it goes, and then maybe when we hang out, I'll make you some cookies.
Hell yeah. It's going to literally be me at that convention, guys, in Georgia with a Tupperware container. And I'm just going to be eating because I'm going to be like, you can bring them on the plane. It's fine. But no, definitely keep us updated.
I had to look up a couple things about the recipe and
Mhm.
I couldn't remember something. And so I'm in the grocery store, like flipping through this like
It's the most
smut.
smutty scene too. If an elderly woman looked over your shoulder, she would have dropped dead. Yep. Mhm.
It's like I'm standing here at the grocery store, skimming through smut to try to find the ingredients to a chocolate chip cookie recipe.
Oh, that made my day. That's amazing. Please keep us updated and like definitely post the recipe. I mean, I burn toast, but I can live through you and be like, oh yeah, yeah, super cool.
Yep. And I did download we keep calling it the migraine fic, but
Oh, yes.
the title is I Give Myself to You as Long as We Move on the Floor. So I
Ooh.
started it, but I haven't gotten too far, but it's fun because it's a fake dating situation,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. So I'm definitely going to finish that one though. I'm excited about it because it was off to a really good start. I do have something that I did read to talk about. So
Ooh.
I mentioned this fic last week, and I still have to send you the link, but it was Weird Witchcraft and Wabi Sabi Poppy, and it's the
Okay.
fic where they walk into a gay bar. One thinks he's straight, one thinks he's vanilla. So very like kink positive fic, and
Nice.
they released the first two chapters, and I read them,
How
and
was it?
it was so good, so good, and it's kind of just setting things up because I think it's gonna be like 5 or 6 chapters, but I just already am obsessed with both of them, and they're
Mm-hmm.
unique because it's like an AU and modern setting and everything,
Okay.
but
Yep.
I'm in love with, like, both of them, and it switches POV, so it's the 2 authors, and they're kind of, like, both writing one of the POVs, but it goes together beautifully, and
Nice.
when I got to the end of the 2nd chapter, I was just like, "Wait, it's over?" Like, I wanted to keep
Oh.
going, like, because I was, like, getting so attached to them, so
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to be releasing updates on Sundays, but they did drop the next chapter yesterday, a day
Oh,
early.
shit.
So
Okay.
I'm absolutely reading the next chapter as soon as possible. And the title of the fic, because I don't think I
Let me
name
write this
dropped the
down.
title last week, is
Uh-huh.
Late Bloomers.
Late bloomers.
Yes.
Yeah, the summary at first, I was like, one thinks he's straight, Steve, and one thinks he's vanilla. Really?
Yeah,
No shit.
it's the other way around. Yep.
Oh, dirty bird. Okay, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm intrigued, baby.
I think it's cool that people are kind of like turning that on its head because it's similar
Yeah.
to Morningberry's new fic that
Mm-hmm.
you've been reading, where it's actually the reverse of like s- uh typically Eddie is kind of like Steve's by awakening, but
Mm-hmm.
now we're getting a little bit of like the reverse in some fics, which I think is fun.
Which is nice. It's something fresh and it's something new with such a great ship that the fact that they are able to find new ways to reinvent itself and keep it interesting, I find it fantastic.
Yeah, it's really fun. So, yeah, that was my week for reading.
You got our steady on.
Yeah, we got our study on.
Megan's like,
We're
Stacy, you need
ready
to leave.
to go study.
Ready to go stay, baby. Oh man. I love it.
It's such a fun rhyming word. You can rhyme it with so much.
The fact that I'm saying it the right way too. I mean, what happened? It's the daylight saving
Yeah,
time in me.
it doesn't rhyme with things when you say steedy.
Steedy. Everyone's like, what the hell is that? I'm like,
They're very
what?
needy.
They're really needy because they're steedy. I can't. Dr. Seuss.
Ah,
Ah, I love it.
all right.
Well, keeping us on our toes. But yeah, lots of fun stuff planned ahead. I think what we're actually going to do for this segment next week, something for you guys to look forward to, is we're going to go way, way back into the archives and we are actually going to pick maybe our top 5 first steady. God, I almost said it the wrong way. Steady fix that got us roped in originally on archive that kind of like created, the monster that you guys know today.
I'm super excited for that.
Nice. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you soon and over and out.
Peace.